So thank you so much, Samantha and Rima. You can take it off now. We're so glad that you're here.
Thank you, Frances. We are glad we're here as well. I'm very excited to, just do this workshop, and thank you so much for joining. So I'm Samantha Mason. Like Frances said, I'm a campus recruiter with Accenture Federal Services, also known as AFS, if you hear that as well. I have been with Accenture for a little over 2 years now, and I'm a lead recruiter for UVA and Hopkins. So always excited to come back and do events with UVA. And then I will let Rima introduce herself.
All right, thank you. Yes, my name is Rima. I am the campus coordinator, so I help out Samantha and a couple of the other recruiters on the team. I've been with Accenture now for about 1.5 years. And yeah, loving it.
Perfect. So we wanted to, obviously, being in a virtual world right now is definitely very prevalent, and hopefully things will be getting better, but just I think, networking and virtual career fairs are definitely going to be here for the future. So we just wanted to go over some tips. I'll go over the agenda. So we'll start with your resume, and then we'll do some virtual career fair tips, do some digital networking etiquette, then go over networking, and then we'll open up for Q&A. If you have any questions, this is definitely casual, so if you feel free to come off mute if you have any questions, or type in the chat box, and we will go ahead and answer those for you. So definitely feel free to interrupt us. I will kick it off to Rima to start with resumes.
All right. So your resume, the main thing is the resume is basically to market your skills and your personal brand. It's an opportunity to make a good first impression, because that's literally what they see when you apply, and it's the vehicle to get your foot in the door. So just think about, when you create your resume, just think about your career and who you're presenting it to, and I think that's more important. What do you want to accomplish with your resume? What are your prospective employers looking for? If they have qualifications on there, just go ahead and, think about that as well. And then choosing your format, something to think about is resumes, must appeal to the prospective employer. Something that's easy to follow, because, something like company name, your dates, the titles, academic information, any information that you think is important to include. Contact information is definitely appropriate. And then also, when you think of like templates, think of something that could be appealing. Like, obviously, if you're an accountant, it's going to be a little bit more conservative, but, graphic artists tend to, provide more graphics and stuff like that. Something that's easy to read. So like the more popular fonts are, Arial and Times New Roman. Those are pretty popular choices, and it's not, something hard to read. And then just also got to make sure when you're providing, be careful of the white spaces. So mention like the pauses for the different areas. So like separate the, education, separating, the different work experience that you have. So that way the hiring manager knows what exactly they're looking at. So especially if you have like certifications, things like that, anything that's important, I think it's definitely important to add into your resume. So easy to follow, appropriate template, easy to read. Make sure it's not as bold and excessive as well. Important data first. So the contact information, education. So those are the different white spaces that I was mentioning that you should separate and make sure to have. And then make sure it's on one page, right? So you may get asked a question about what's on your resume. So make sure you don't just fill it up just to fill it up, and make sure you can actually, support what you're writing and you're comfortable talking about. And make sure if you can quantify it, show the numbers, but if you can't, you can say, hey, morale was improved, for example, as reflected in the survey responses. Number 3, paint the picture where you can. How does it, where you can, basically. Making it relevant. How does what you do tie into what you want to do? Number 5, showcase how you are as well-rounded as an individual. Any organizations or any certifications that you think are important, definitely mention that, especially if you think that's definitely going to tie into the job that you're applying for. And and make sure you don't just make sure it looks pretty, make sure, what you have on your resume makes sense.
Perfect. Thank you. And Francis, I saw your question. Yes, definitely feel free to add that as well. For example, if you are applying to a finance position and you have relevant coursework in finance, you can definitely put that on there. Any technical projects, I love reading about those too, and the interviewers. So yeah, be able to put your, your story, that's education, organizations, coursework, technical projects. And we bring the resume up to give these tips because I know when I was doing the virtual career fair in the fall, I would go on a Know and Handshake, you're able to upload a copy of your resume. And I thought it was really helpful to go to the page and just look who I'm going to be chatting with and upload and download their resume just so I can get an idea, since I know 10 minutes time frame for the one-on-one conversations can go really quickly. So I think it's always nice to have that updated resume there. And then we'll go into, follow-ups after you speak with someone, but also great to attach the resume to the follow-up email as well. Before we move on, do we have any other questions? Right. Rima, you can go to the next slide. All right, so career fair tips before, during, and after. I would say when you are signing up for a time slot or a group session, you can make sure to research the company that you're interested in or you want to learn more about. I think it's good to just kind of have a little plan. Like I said, that the times can go by really fast. So you can, look up what the company does, who they are. So at least you have that background knowledge. And then you can look up the person on LinkedIn just so you can know, what position they may have at the company, and you can ask more about that. And then know your story. I know some people call this like their elevator pitch when you're talking to someone. So it could sound simple, but when you join the conversation, just kind of make sure you introduce yourself, maybe say what you're studying, what year you are, and what you may be interested in. And it's totally okay if you don't know like what specific positions or anything like that. That's a good opportunity to ask the person that you're talking with more about their role and more about the company's opportunities. Logistics prep, this is, I would say, important in a virtual aspect. If you're able to do a trial, video and audio, and obviously there's complications and not everything may go smoothly, but for example, I know and for other virtual career fairs, the audio may not work, so I just gave them a call on their phone and worked it out. But when you're able to, I would prep that. And then, like I said, come with questions, kind of have what you want to know, what you want to get out of the conversation, what you want to learn more of. They're there to really help you and help you understand what their company does and what roles that they have available, and then just their experience. And then afterwards, and even whenever and before networking, I think networking is huge. And yes, Francis, some good questions. I would say, tell me about your experience. I'm interested in X, Y, and Z. What is your company? What roles does your company have that aligns with that? If you're really interested, what is the interview process or the resume drop deadline? those are a couple. Rima, am I forgetting anything else that may be some good questions when you're speaking with someone?
Oh, I think those are pretty popular questions.
Okay. Well, just let me know if I forgot anything, but I would say, and sometimes we'll be speaking with the recruiter, sometimes we'll be speaking with the representative from the company that is, for example, with Accenture, they may be a technology analyst or a management consultant. So it's always nice to get their firsthand experience. And then with networking, feel free to, and networking and following up kind of goes hand in hand. I would make it personal when you follow up. You can even bring up something that you guys discussed in your conversation. Like I said, attach a resume and ask if there's someone else that they may think would be good to reach out to, just to kind of build that network. And it's also because you're able to learn from them, and the more you talk to more people, the more you'll understand the company, and if you could see yourself there.
Samantha, quickly, I have a question that we hear a lot from students. They're in the room with you, maybe they're on their 10-minute session, and is it appropriate for them to ask if they could follow up, and could they get your email, or what would you prefer in that situation?
Yeah, that's a great question. I always say I prefer, to follow up and get my email. I usually provide my email in the chat so they can write it down. I think that's definitely appropriate. And even if if they want more time, we can set up a time for later to chat more. So I think that's definitely appropriate. I think you can follow them on LinkedIn and ask them for their email.
Wonderful, thank you. And also, when students are entering that room, what would be the first things that they would mention? Their elevator pitch, or are you there and asking them about them? Sort of, can you walk us through what that looks like for them?
Yes. So I would say kind of it first starts off with introducing ourselves to each other. Usually I like to know like what year they are, what they're studying, what they're interested in. I tell them more about my role, and usually some opportunities that I have that are and just go over Accenture in general. I think it's definitely okay to not know. Like I said, I know I said to do some research, but you don't need to know the ins and outs. And I think it's okay to ask the recruiter or the representative that. And usually at the end, I say, like, feel free to reach out. Here's my email. Does that help at all? Did I help answer that question?
Yeah, that's perfect. Do you typically at that time ask any sort of like interviewing questions, or it's more as like a get to know you?
I would say it's more of a get to know you personally. If there's any type of interview, I think this is more a chance to really get to know you and for them to get to know the company. And more like a casual conversation.
Thank you, Samantha.
Mm-hmm. And an opportunity, obviously, in the virtual world to get to place a face to the name, so you get to know each other a little bit better.
And Samantha, one more question. Does it help for them to have done some research on you? Like, what would you expect them to know about Accenture, or have some idea of a little bit about the type of work that you do? Would that be helpful?
Yes, I always think that's helpful, just so they know and see if it's something that they're interested in going into the conversation. As basic as, Accenture is a technology consulting company. Accenture Federal Services, supports the federal government, and we have different, consulting opportunities, different corporate function opportunities. So just I would say you can like Google and then read about me, and I think that's perfectly fine. And then I love to explain more about to the person, because I know it can be a lot of information on a website to really grasp everything. So I think it's better to hear from the person as well. For a virtual career fair, the attire, I would say that It really depends on the company, but I think to play it safe, probably business casual on top. You can wear whatever on the bottom, but I would say business casual, just because it's better to overdress and underdress in case, like Accenture is pretty casual, but I would say that. Any other questions that I may have missed? Okay. And then some digital networking etiquette. So I know we mentioned networking and how important that is to really kind of meet different people from the company and get to know if it's something that where you'd want to work. I would say continually diversify your network, determine your long-term networking goals and preferences. I kind of mentioned the following up with someone and see if they know of another person you can talk to, that kind of 6 degrees of separation, because then you can grow your network in that way. The outreach messages, make it personal. You can look up their LinkedIn and kind of, maybe connect something there. And then if you know what kind of opportunities you're looking for, I think the career fair, that this is a great way to kind of see what and open your mind into different opportunities that you may have not thought of. But if you do, or if you're something that you're interested in, you can mention that as well. And you never know, someone may be like, oh, have you thought about this? Definitely don't limit yourself to current contacts and industry. Like I said, you may not know what you could find. And then don't hesitate to leverage your network or forget to share your career interests and passions. This goes within career fairs and within recruiting in general, some do's and don'ts. And then, so during the one-on-one sessions, I know it's easy, I ramble a lot, and I know it's easy to just kind of get going. But if you have a little bit of a set mind with what you're trying to accomplish from the conversation, that's able for you to be clear and concise and get the most out of the conversation. And this also can be helpful during interviews as well. Be an active listener, I think, is important. To take notes during I think that's totally fine during the conversations. I like to take notes as well. And usually I say, if I'm looking down or something, I'm just writing some notes down, and I am definitely listening to you. And then add color to the outline or your resume. If you guys have time, you can, this is a good example of telling your story, or maybe saying something that's not on your resume that you want the person that you're talking to know. And I think that's more relevant to when they're more interviewer questions. And try your best to know who's on the other side. I think we've referenced that before. So you can look up on LinkedIn, align what you are looking for to the company. So for example, I know Rima mentioned this on your resume, if you are applying to like a management consulting position, look at the qualifications on the role. And if you've done that before, kind of use those buzzwords in from the job description. Let me see. Follow up with someone you've, okay. Is it okay to follow up with someone you've reached out to on LinkedIn if you haven't heard back from them? Yes, I think it's definitely okay. Sometimes people don't check LinkedIn as quickly as other people. So definitely okay to follow up. And you can even, reach out to multiple people at the company as well. I don't think that would hurt you. Any other questions? All right, well, I will hand it off to Rima for the next.
All right, so your network is your net worth. So keeping your profile relevant and impactful. So gotta be in the know, stay up to date in the field, of interest that you're interested in. Your profile, any updates should reflect anything that you've learned. Establish your brand based on the skill sets and the interests you're passionate about. Basically just, anything that you're interested in, keep in mind, like writing that down, definitely important. Be intentional, forget about formulas and focusing on relationship building. Stay connected. That's definitely important. Networking is definitely super, especially now with the virtual age, like that networking is very important. Post short blogs, anything that connects through leadership. Just know your audience. Your post should provide value to those you seek to engage and attract. Comment anything, share anything that's especially LinkedIn, like that's where everybody is nowadays. And like any, interesting things that you see, post that, share it, just try to connect in some way. Joining online groups, definitely do your research and join groups that gives you access to the type of people you meet. And there's so many different types of networks out there for everything. There's hashtags in the social media age. Hashtags are pretty big and everywhere. And so there's hashtags for everything. And there's definitely things that will pique your interest, and, click on that hashtag and see why is it trending? Why is it a hashtag? And connect with those who, inspire you, do the same thing as you do, because the more areas and the more you participate in the groups, and you're like, okay, I recognize you from this networking event, and they will recognize you too. And they're like, oh, okay, hey, I work at this company that is so and so that I think you would be interested in. That's so impactful and that's so important. It's your story, and you know it better than anyone else. So own it.
So I know that ended up being quick, but we'll open it up for any questions. We're definitely here to help you. So anything that you're wondering, just let us know.
Yeah, and if you'd like, you can unmute and put your videos on and ask questions that way. It's casual. We want you to feel comfortable, or you can put your questions in the chat, and no question is too silly at all. Happy to answer any questions. Samantha, as we're waiting, and Rima, I know students will often ask me, oh, here we go. So we could wear a blazer on the top and shorts on the bottom.
Yes. If you're from here up is only showing, keep it comfy on the bottom. I personally love that about the virtual world right now.
Oftentimes students will ask me about like researching the company and knowing something about the company. What do you find are the things that really stand out when students do know something about Accenture, or about, like what would be important for them to know?
I always really, really appreciate it because it shows me that they put the time and effort to research, and that they want to be there and they want to be talking to you. Like I said, I think it's great when, if they look the about me and just even say like, I know Accenture does this, or I saw Accenture in the news or a blog about this. Or I saw a posting about Accenture on Handshake about this role and it seems interesting to me. Anything like that. And I think, and that also creates an opportunity for a conversation to stem from that. And I know it can be nerve-wracking or nervous to talk, or nerve-wracking to talk to initially the virtual one-on-one conversations on a career fair, but that's also a good, conversation starter.
Wonderful. Thank you, Samantha. Any questions from our students?
Samantha, I have a question. Just in general, are there some things that students should, I think a lot of times when it's the first time that a student's doing this kind of thing, they're nervous that they'll say the wrong thing or so do you have any advice for just how to get comfortable that around what you need to include when you're introducing yourself, or are there some topics that you should stay away from?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think this may sound silly, but even practicing with your friend, that you can, practicing like your elevator speech or like, introducing yourself. I think really don't worry about, don't really overthink the, like, what if I say something. I think the big things to stay away from is probably politics, religion. Like don't bring up usually like salaries about roles or anything like that. That usually happens later on. And maybe when you're talking about like an organization or something, like keep it professional. I'm trying to think of anything else, but I would say those are the big things. I think that if you kind of come up with a little plan in your head, that will make you feel a little bit like a rough draft outline of like kind of what you want to touch on in the conversation. I think that will help with the nerves also. I do that all the time just to know what I can hit and keeps me on track. And so if I'm like running out of something, I don't know what to say, I will kind of go over and maybe think of like a question that I have, like a generic question that I've written down. I hope that helps.
Samantha, sometimes I'll talk with students that are like, I don't have a lot of experience. And then I will mention, well, how about projects and coursework? Is that something that you find helpful to hear about and learn about? What are your thoughts?
Yes, definitely. Yeah, you don't, even if it's not, you don't have, maybe prior internship or work experience or anything like that. Yeah, talk to me about your coursework, your projects. I think that's so relevant. I know a lot of people talk about the STAR method, which is like situation, task, action, and result, I believe. And those are like a lot of that's like the method a lot of interviewers use. And so when it comes to even that, I think about that, and you can have examples from classes, projects, group organizations, any work experience. So yeah, all of the above, I would say.
All right, wonderful. And you meet with students all the time, UVA students, other students as well from other universities and colleges. What do you think, like when you meet with a student, especially like with these 10-minute one-on-ones, what are some things that you feel like really make a difference for them?
I think that just remember, you are speaking with another like human. It's just two people having a conversation. And then I think that the researching aspect is great, but also I love to just hear what students are interested in. And it kind of helps me understand like what may be a good fit or what advice I could give them. Just to get an understanding of their goals. I think that is like the most important. And then obviously it helps me meet different people and have those good conversations. And the follow-up I know is really important. I really enjoy that, just so I can be like, yes, I had that conversation with this person. And I know that there's a question in the chat. It says, what would you say is an appropriate time after a career fair to reach back out with questions via email or LinkedIn 1 to 2 weeks after or earlier or later? I personally think it is okay to even do it sooner than 1 week after. Maybe like I have people that reach out to me right after our conversations, and that is helpful. So I would say probably 1 to 2 days after is an appropriate time to reach back out with questions. And then there's another question, how much should we talk and how much should we let the host talk? I personally love to hear you guys talk and get to know you better. If they have, I want to know more about you. And then if you have a question, then that's when the host can be talking and kind of explain that as well. But probably, just like a 50-50 conversation, a mutual conversation. And yeah, that's what I would say. And feel free, Rima, jump in if I'm forgetting anything or have anything to add.
Thank you, Samantha. Also, as with the 30-minute sessions, the group sessions, what is the best way to make the most of those? What do you expect from students? Is it more information gathering about the company? Can they ask questions? Can you kind of walk us through that session?
Yeah, definitely more. Yeah, I'd say information more about the company. Definitely a good chance to ask any questions. You can, come off mute or chat them as well and get whoever is doing the presentation's email. I think that's totally okay. So you can, ask, can you share your email? And then maybe follow up with something that they said in the presentation to set up a time, a one-on-one chat afterwards or for another time. And really, that's a good way to follow up, is to set more time with the person, since I know it is a group session and it's sometimes maybe hard to really get that connection. But it's a really great way to get that information of a company that you may be interested in, you don't know, or just want to learn more about.
Wonderful. And LinkedIn is, we use LinkedIn all the time. And what are your thoughts on students reaching out to you through LinkedIn? Is that something that's a good idea? Sort of what are best practices with that?
Yeah, I have people reach out to me on LinkedIn all the time. And I think that's a great idea. I think it's just another way to really connect with someone. I would try to make it as personal as possible. And I love when people attach their resume on LinkedIn as well in a message. So maybe if you're, looking at my profile, if you have a question about the company and you say, like, I saw this on LinkedIn about Accenture, or I saw this posting about Accenture, I would, come in with a question when you reach out to someone, or if you want to set up time to talk with someone. And I think LinkedIn is just a great avenue to reach out if you don't have that person's resume, or email. And I think it's also good. This is a good tip. I know that I'm a recruiter, but I've heard that just from our managers, it's definitely good to maybe search the recruiters for a company that you're interested in and reach out to them and have them get to know you as well. But it's also great to get to know other people within the company to get their personal experience, maybe that you see that they're in a role that you're interested in, and ask more to tell them more about their experience.
Wonderful. Thank you, Samantha.
Mm-hmm.
I was wondering, is it bad to ask, if they have any internship opportunities first, when you're first reaching out? Is it should you ask a question about them first, or you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, yeah, definitely. That's totally okay. I think that, if say I'm interested in X, Y, and Z internship, do you have anything open? What? And that's when you can send your resume. And I think that's definitely okay. If you see any openings that you're interested in, definitely okay to ask about that. Or if you don't know and you just are wondering, that would be a good place too.
I think that's a great question. And maybe Samantha and Rima, can you kind of walk us through, when students are applying, sort of what happens next, or you've met with them at the career fair or the sessions for 30 minutes. What kind of happens next? Any advice or guidance for that?
Yeah, so you meet with them and you're interested in applying, you apply, and you can, or you maybe ask the best way to apply. For example, I know for Accenture, you apply on Handshake and on the website. So you can ask the logistics aspect of it. And then you can even say, I know I have people that say it was great talking to you. I applied to the X, Y, and Z position. I would love to talk to you further about my application. I think that's okay. Did that help answer your question at all? Rima, let me know if I missed anything.
No, I think you got it.
And okay. And Francis, are resume drops pretty common for everyone? Deadlines?
Oh, Peggy, do you want to kind of discuss?
Yeah.
Sorry, I had to go on mute. Yes, so actually the resume books for the fair they closed tonight at midnight. And they're being sent to employers who have requested them. So not everybody, sorry, I'll take myself off of darkness.
Me too.
So not all the employers have asked for that, only particular employers ask for them. But, you know, the resume books are there. You should have gotten information about how to drop your resume in there in the emails that came from Heather Palmer. You can search it in the handshake. It's listed as Career Fair resume book. Go figure. Anyway, so that's there if you wanna do that. Otherwise, I guess we can send it to a particular employer if, you know, they didn't ask for that.
Thank you, Peggy.
Yep.
Yeah, thank you.
So Samantha and Rima, thank you so much for all you shared. How about like any last tips or takeaways that you would share for helping students make the most of a virtual career fair and standing out?
Yeah, and thank you. I would say this may sound cliche, but just be yourself and you will find your fit, and you'll make these connections, and you're already you're already ahead by attending these virtual career fairs. And I think, making the most out of it is really just going on and seeing who's attending and try to set up that time, because it does make a huge difference, even though, even the group sessions or the 10-minute sessions, they definitely make a big difference just to be able to get that face-to-face time. And to stand out, I think it's just, continuing to reaching out and following up with people even afterwards. I think that shows, that you're, really interested and committed. And those would be those are some of my advice. That is some of my advice. Rima, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I mean, definitely just, being proactive about it, and just, staying up, again, like you said, like staying on top of it. I think that's important. That shows that you're very serious in what you want to do, and like, you don't want to just apply just to apply, and you think, you really see yourself here. And I think that's something that's super important.
Sounds wonderful. Sounds like kind of sort of taking the initiative. Don't hesitate for reaching out. Both of you have been so wonderful tonight. Oh, Dana, do you have a question?
No.
So thank you for all that you shared, all the guidance that you've offered. We can't thank you enough for that, for sure. And if students have any other questions, don't hesitate to put them in the chat. But again, we so much appreciate your guidance, helping students prepare for the career fairs that are coming up, and for all that you've shared, and for being great colleagues and employer partners.
Yeah, thank you. This was great, and I will put my email in the chat if anyone has any questions that come up later on.
Oh, thank you, Samantha.
Yeah, I am happy to help, and good luck with the career fairs. It'll be great. There'll be great conversations. I know it.
Thank you so much.
Thanks both of you. Thanks so much to both of you. This was great.
Thank you.
Of course. Thank you. And I will hang on for a little bit in case anyone has questions.
Oh, thank you. Lots of thanks for coming in, but yeah, that was great. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
I think it's just us.
All right, thank you so
Yeah.
much. We appreciate all the time you spent that out. Very helpful, great guidance.
Okay,
Um,
good.
and
I'm
thank you
glad.
You did great, and it was so nice to see Samantha and Rima meet you. Thank you, Peggy and Dana, for being here and for all your support. And yeah, Samantha, you've been so wonderful to work with, both you and Rory. We're really very, very appreciative. Thank you.
Well, you guys have been wonderful as well. And free to reach out if anyone has any questions that they asked you or any follow-ups. I'm sure we're going to be starting, we're probably going to be setting up a meeting soon just to get everything started in this for the rest of the spring and the fall. So I will probably be reaching out shortly.
Great.
Well, you guys are amazing. Dream team for sure. Peggy, did I interrupt you?
No, I was just saying that's great.
I know. We've always loved working with you. And so, well, we're wishing you all the best. Stay healthy. And thank you again so very, very much.